Welcome to the Culture Shock. Okay, today we're going to talk about our relationships with our fathers. How is your relationship with your father growing up, or how was it and how is it? Well, I wanted to use this video to help those of you maybe with a strained relationship with your father, because I once was like that. I had a strained relationship with my father. Growing up, I was one of those kids who thought he knew it all, who who actually thought he knew more than his dad, who thought he was always right. All this all the way until probably the age of 27. So about 10 years ago. Right now I'm 37 years old. But there are a lot of people that maybe you grew up with a dad like mine, strict or kind of a tough dad. He was tough on you, but he's tough on you for a reason. Most dads are, because they want you not to be taken advantage of by the world or by chicks in the world, because some chicks will use you for your money, your place, your vehicle, you name it. Then there are chicks like that. And my dad, one day we had a conversation. I think this is like a few years ago. He told me that he was hard on me because I was his oldest son, and because he wanted me to kind of take the reins if anything happened to him. So he was a little tougher on me, which was true. When I used to clean my room, I would have a towel on the my weight machine, and he would tell me my room was dirty, and that was the only thing. So he told me to hang it above the door. Although my siblings' rooms are a little bit messier than mine, but that one thing, he called it messy. So he was a little stricter with me, which later on I understood, but I never knew that as a teenager, because my dad used to not really tell us that he loves us, but he used to tell us that his actions were the reasons that he loved us, that he would go away on for work, and that's how we knew he loved us, and all the things that he did around the house. So, guys, if your father doesn't tell you he loves you, let him show you by his actions. Sometimes actions are more than words, because sometimes actions prove why people love you. They can just say, I love you, but sometimes it's empty. Even women. Women will tell you that they love you, but their actions can be empty. Or their words can be empty. But let someone show you by their actions. They may say the words, but sometimes it's the actions that matter. Always read someone's actions. All my life, my dad has showed me that he loves me. I remember one time I wanted nunchucks. He didn't just go out and do it. Somehow he had a chain, and he had some kind of screw, and he made nunchucks for me, which was cool. He didn't have to do that, but he made it, which made that more special. But I remember always later on in life, when I became a teenager, I think that's when most guys start to argue with their dad, thinking they're right. But it's not about being right, it's about just honoring your father. I remember I always go back to the day that I was listening to my iBible on my kind of like an MP3 player, and I kept hearing those words repeated. It never meant anything before when I was in church reading the Bible, when it said honor thy father. But Later on, like I think I was like 26 or 27, when those words actually meant something. It's not about being right or uh like it's not about being right. It's about honoring your father even if he's wrong and you're right. It's not about being right all the time. I know as young men, we're always wanting to be right, but it's about honoring your father. I know everybody doesn't have the perfect father or the perfect uh, situation with their father. Maybe your dad is a scumbag, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the father that doesn't really show or that doesn't say he loves you, but he's working, providing for your family, and showing you how to be a man. So there's no perfect man out there, so don't try to look for that sitcom dad or that Hollywood dad where they're trying to or where they're portrayed as perfect. There's none. But what I'm saying is, if your dad tells you something, don't try to dishonor him by uh, thinking you know more than him. God placed him in your life for a reason, gave him the wisdom that he has for a reason. Let him just say what he needs to, listen to his words, and pick something out of it. And that's what I didn't do the first 27 years of my relationship with my dad. Now, the last 10 years, me and my dad he's like one of the closest friends I have. I don't have that many friends, but he's one of the closest, him and my brothers. But it's because he's my father and I trust him. Maybe that's what it was before I didn't have his trust in my dad. But once I honored my dad, I could trust him. So, like, when my dad tells me something, I remember a Cam Newton quote that when he was with the Patriots, he said, Bill Belichick, whatever he says is gold to my ears and my eyes. And I started saying that about my dad. I said, whatever my dad says is gold to my ears and my eyes. Because my dad has shown me that he cares about me. He may not always say that he loves me, but he shows me through his words. So if your dad shows you that he loves you with his actions, then that's all you need. You don't have to hear, I love you. Although it may be what you want, but sometimes that's just not how they were raised. My dad was raised going to a government dorm when he was younger. And I remember the stories where he would say he would have to fix his bed where they would drop a quarter and if it bounced, it was good. But if that quarter did not bounce off the sheet, they would just rip it off and they would have to do it again. And he had a mother that never really said I love you too much. I remember stories about that. But so he was not raised that way. Maybe it's how your father was raised, but like he cannot do stuff about the past, but only you can do something about your future with your dad. And now my dad is one of my best friends the last 10 years. And I try to do as much as I can for him. Like take him out to dinner, or we used to have cookouts for him on Father's Day. Because those were the very special times. So, if you have a strained relationship with your father, maybe it's not your father's fault. Maybe he doesn't even know what's bugging you. Maybe you want to talk to him. That's what me and my dad had, and we had conversations about it. I remember the time we went to Denny's, and he said, we were talking about that, about our relationships, why we used to fight a lot. And what I said was, I said that he never had to be the one who was right, or even if I was right, I didn't have to throw in front of his face. But it was just about honoring him. Although I knew I was right all the time, but that's beside the point. I'm only joking, but so he would tell me because I like doing things the hard way, which is what he always told me when I was growing up. And sometimes when he makes a mistake, I say that to him. I was like, Dad, you just like doing things the hard way. I don't really use the word father with him because father's kind of like a generic term. If you see like a paper, it says, who is your father and your mother? Me and my siblings call him Dad. So, but I just want to see if I could help some of you with your relationship. Sometimes it's not your father's fault. Sometimes it's just how they were raised. But sometimes we gotta work on ourselves first. It took me about 27 years to find out that it was me. I mean, I can't change my dad. I can only change who I am. Maybe that's what we need to all do sometimes, is focus on changing ourselves so we can change our relationship with our fathers. So, guys, keep improving yourself. Keep helping yourselves, helping your own situation. And maybe if you can, that will help the relationship with you and your father, or you and your dad, whatever you call him. So, if this video was helpful to any men out there, then give it a thumbs up and like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I want to help men out with their relationships with their father. So, everybody, this is the kind of content I want to do still. So, everybody, stay manly.